The tension in the Taiwan Strait has escalated to become a hot geopolitical issue. Whether and when China will attack Taiwan to achieve unification attracts debate and discourse. There are many signs that Beijing has been preparing for war, and the regime's propaganda hasn't been shy about its intention to take over Taiwan militarily. But is Xi Jinping ready for war? Hello, welcome to Lei's Real Talk. I'm Lei. Since 2018, the Communist Party of China has been exhibiting a new military formality. That is, the chairman of its Central Military Commission issues the first military order during the new year to officially start the training for the People's Liberation Army, or the PLA. On January 4th, Xi Jinping, who is the chairman of the commission, signed this year's first military order to kick off the new year for the PLA. The difference between this year's order and the previous year's reveals a shift in Xi's priority for 2022. You'll notice quite a difference when comparing this year's military order number 1 to the past years. First, this year's order is very concise with only 200 words. Last year's had 600 words and the year before had 500. Instead of emphasizing the leader, Xi Jinping, the statement has the PLA resolutely carry out the orders and instructions of the party and the Central Military Commission. But the most significant change is that the past description of war preparation has been replaced with keep a close eye on the development in technology, warfare, and the opponents. Its main point is that PLA training is to be carried out in a manner that ensures the CCP's 20th National Congress is convened victoriously. From this, we can see that Xi's priority has shifted from preparing for war to internal stability. His order to the military is to keep training and focusing on internal business to ensure the success of the 20th National Congress. This is consistent with what we have seen over the past months, that Xi is facing tremendous political infighting leading up to the party's 20th Congress in the fall. From a Western perspective, however, it's odd that military training is required to ensure the success of the party's national convention, right? It isn't just that Xi needs military support to gain politically at the convention. His seeking a third term this fall is directly related to the military's mission. In other words, there is a causal connection between the military resolution of Taiwan and his third term. The best explanation of this relationship is by political commentator Alexander Liao. In a recent interview, he described his conversation with a CCP official in Hong Kong about Xi's third term a few years ago.
问他说为什么19大能够修改这个党章啊，可以连任？他反问了我一个问题，他说你把这个问题搞清楚啊，你就知道了。他说习近平用什么理由说服党内的这些人呢？然后去修改党章，让他去连任。我想半天啊，我只有一个，最后我就试探性的我说那是不是台湾问题？他就笑而不答了。那就很明显是我说对了。
So in 2017, at the last National Congress, Xi used Taiwan unification to justify more terms for himself. Therefore, he must put martial unification on the agenda and put it into action to justify his succession. However, his political enemies are trying to pressure him into a war with Taiwan in order to trap him. They want him to start the war immediately and consequently have him fail. I've done a video on this topic and you can check it out at the end. But Xi knows that he's not yet ready for war and must be cautious. Xi Jinping is carefully walking a fine line between using unification to seek a third term and actually starting a war. This has become a daunting task for him politically.
他是为了连任，所以提出要打台湾，因为他是说我要在我们这一代人里面要统一台湾，完成这个革命先烈啊，就是他的父辈的这个梦想啊，统一祖国。所以呢，我们要提出一个时间表。当时他的所谓时间表就是10年之内。这个10年之内呢，当然就刚好跨越了这个20大。那这个中间你换个帅，换个领导人，显然是不合适了。
This year will be the midpoint of that 10-year period, and I don't think Xi feels he's ready. So for the time being, the war against Taiwan is on hold. Aside from the internal political struggles, the loyalty of the military is another challenge for him. I discussed this in my last video, and you can check it out. In addition, his concern about other internal factors that affect his decision. The first is the economy, local government debts, the real estate bubble, declining domestic consumption, the energy crisis, and the exodus of foreign companies are problems that aren't going away. Once a war starts in the Pacific, international sanctions will add a fatal blow to the already weak economy. This will immediately trigger a political crisis, which is his second major concern. Very few people in China still believe in communism. The only reason citizens have tolerated the regime and their lack of freedom and human rights is money. Economic growth is the only thing the CCP can use to legitimize its rule. Once living conditions or the economy deteriorate, people will not tolerate the regime anymore. Therefore, a war against Taiwan may set off an existential crisis for the Communist Party and bring its demise. Now, another of Xi's concern is the opposition by the ruling elites. The makeup of the CCP is no longer the same as before. This is because most CCP leaders have family members living in the free world. In 2012, Hong Kong's Momentum magazine quoted an internal survey within the Communist Party, which found that 90% of the CCP's Central Committee members had relatives who immigrated overseas. For example, Deng Xiaoping's grandson was born in the United States and is an American. The CCP spokesman during the June 4th Tiananmen Square massacre, who said that not a single person died in Tiananmen Square, has long been living in the United States with his family. The current CCP spokeswoman owns real estate in California, and her daughter has reportedly moved to the United States to study. Xi Jinping's father, Xi Zhongxun, who was persecuted during the Cultural Revolution, famously told his children to go far away. One of Xi's sisters is a permanent resident of Canada, while his other sister and his brother are both residents of Australia. How many of the second and third generation of party leaders and military leaders have emigrated to the United States, Canada, and Australia? The number isn't small. Even the corrupt officials don't want to start a war with Taiwan. They have long sent their assets and children overseas for safety. They certainly don't want their assets to be confiscated or frozen in the event that China goes to war with another country. People are looking out for their own interest, not that of the party. So this hidden voice of opposition within the CCP should not be ignored. The most important reason that Xi isn't ready to launch a war against Taiwan is that the PLA isn't ready yet. Although the CCP has invested heavily into building modern weaponry, the biggest problem that's working against the regime is systemic corruption. Corruption exists in every country, but the extent of corruption in the Chinese military is unheard of. This corruption has destroyed the morale of Chinese servicemen and is not a short-term problem that Xi can fix. In the end, no matter how many weapons it develops, the Chinese military is run by humans. In the next video, I'll talk about how the military corruption started in China and where it is now. Stay tuned. In my last video, I showed you the Chinese word good, which comprises two characters that means women. Women are good. So what's the term man mean in Chinese? Well, the word man is made up of two components too. The top is tian, meaning field, and the lower part is li, meaning strength or labor. So when you put them together, they become nan, man, or male. So man in Chinese is literally labor in the field. Ancient Chinese were full of wisdom. They believe men are the laborers in the field and women are good. Think about it. They just revealed the secret to a happy relationship. When the woman is good and the man hardworking, the relationship is surely long-lasting. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.